like you said, we know what to do. We just need some help doing it. And so coaching women really evolved from me going through variations of crises, small little hurdles that we all go through. And as we age, as much as I wanted to defy aging with exercise, now I'm at the point where I really appreciate aging in a way that isn't scary. It's not depressing. And women need help understanding that we don't, being young is great in some ways, but you could never pay me enough money to go back to be in college now. I don't want to be 21 anymore.
Welcome to High Trust Professionals, a podcast where we interview top industry and community leaders, business owners, and entrepreneurs from across the country. Hear what it takes to build trust, be a respected leader, be productive, and win your day. Sit back and relax as we dive into another episode of High Trust Professionals podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to High Trust Professionals podcast. I'm your host, Lynette Arrasmith. Today, I have with me my friend Kristen Grundke, and she is the owner of KLivFit, which is just this. I don't even know how to describe this super cool thing that you've got going on. Had the pleasure of meeting Kristen at a networking event, which is where I meet so many awesome business owners. And, you know, we love on our podcast to talk to people who are entrepreneur, business owners, you know, have a kind of a leadership vibe of sorts and just have a fun story to tell.
Yeah, perfect.
And so I loved your story when we met. And so here we are. So let's tell our audience kind of who you are maybe before you started your company. Tell me that.
Yeah. So I was an athlete in high school and I grew up exercising my whole life. And I started teaching fitness when I was 19. So I've been at it a couple of years.
Yeah, just two or three.
Yeah. And
okay, wait, back up. What sport did you play?
I played basketball and volleyball and started running, started doing group fitness. They called it aerobics back then in the 80s and 90s.
Tell me you did not have the thigh master.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, not the thigh master, but I did do Jane Fonda. I did, you know, ESPN used to have workout spaces.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I've always loved fitness, and I have done about every job in fitness that you could possibly do. And group fitness was probably what I loved the most, teaching and interacting with people. I have a teaching degree, and what I realized is I love teaching adults especially, and they're always happy after they exercise. And so I'm like, this seems like a really good fit afterwards, not before.
I know, it's that, oh my gosh, I have to do this.
I have to.
Look what I accomplished.
Yes, absolutely.
I love that.
So that's where I started. And, you know, I've done a lot. I've done exercise videos. I've taught group fitness, personal trained. I've worked for myself. I've worked for other people. I've worked for big gyms. So it's kind of a hodgepodge of my backstory.
I don't know. I'd say it's diverse.
It's diverse. That's
and
true.
Lots of experience.
Yeah.
Which really kind of led you to where you are today.
Correct.
Okay. So we're fast forward to today. Yeah. How and when did you get started? And the name.
Yeah.
KLivFit. That is so interesting to me.
So I kind of played around with that for a little bit. LivFit is sort of a, you know, people use that as a phrase, sometimes a hashtag when you're talking about fitness. My last name used to be Livingston. And so KLiv was a little bit of a nickname. And then LivFit was kind of a sweet spot. And so KLivFit is how that.
It's perfect.
Yeah, that worked out great. And then when my name became Grundke, that didn't really work as well.
Really? Why?
I don't know. K Grunk just doesn't have the ring.
Okay, but isn't that what we call? Isn't our football player they call Grunk, Crunk?
Oh yeah, yeah.
There, like
yes,
right?
there, yes.
So,
different last name, but yes,
could have been. All right, I get it. I agree. I think KLivFit just kind of flows.
Yeah, it goes nicely.
And so, how long ago did you start?
Yeah, so the brand started in 2014. I was doing exercise videos, and that was when I wasn't on social media at all. And one of the producers says, we need you to help us market these videos. So get on Facebook, and Instagram wasn't a thing, and Twitter. And so I wanted a separation between Kristen and what I was doing. Yeah. And so I started this brand and used it a lot for just writing for my blog and for, connections with other businesses. Mm-hmm. Recently, in the last couple of years, I started really pushing more of my programs with health coaching and with women. So I've always kind of done short little snippets of, change your habits with me and, things along that line. But recently I've been focusing mostly on working with women, helping you create habits and routines around food and fitness that give you freedom about, you're not having to concentrate on it so much. So you can go do what you were made to do.
Because as women, we're so, it's almost like we're trained to be so mindful of that. How do you look? Maybe versus how we feel. So we'll get into that a little more. So I went onto your website, which I love your website. Well done.
Thank you.
Really well done. Such amazing information. And we'll tell everyone where to find you.
Okay, great.
But you've got these formulas. So this is like, okay, there's Formula 3 and there's Formula 3 teams. Yes. There's F3 squared.
Yes.
And let's not forget your corporate coaching.
Right.
So what would you like to dive into first?
Well, Formula 3 is the flagship program, and it's one-to-one coaching. And I work with women typically for 12 weeks, and we establish habits, routines that mostly we need help with eating. What, when, how to eat. I also combine that with strength training and movement patterns, and then one-on-one habit coaching. So we have calls every week, and we create a routine, and we massage, based on what you did last week, we'll move forward and build on that or redirect. So most of the time, if I were to ask you, how do you stay healthy? You would be able to tell me, right? I mean, we all know what to do. We all know.
Yes, we know what to do. We all don't always do it because we need maybe a little accountability.
Right. Accountability is a huge thing.
I call that the A word.
Yeah, right.
In quotes, people, the A word.
Right, exactly.
The other A word.
We need support. Yeah. We need a little bit of structure. Yeah.
A community. So as I'm looking at like the teams as an example, so the Formula 3 teams, I agree with you. It's always more fun to do something with someone or a small group. So why not exercise?
Right. Well, teams is the one-to-one coaching in a group. So you get the same content, you get actually a little bit more contact with me. So instead of 1 call a month, you get 3. And you can join in, however many times you want to talk. But we run through the same formula. So the formula is...
Yes,
fasting, fitness, and females. And so this combination keeps our bodies healing. And really what, I know fasting can be a little bit scary. It's a little bit of a buzzword. It's very historic though. So, we've been fasting as people forever. And
have we?
We have, yes, until recent history.
So that was I will say that's an interesting subject that you covered when I was there for your presentation, but also on your website.
Yeah.
And so, before we get to fasting, talk to me about like what's unique about the way that you approach fitness coaching specifically with and for women.
Mm-hmm. Well, like you said, we know what to do. We just need some help doing it. And so coaching women really evolved from me going through variations of crises, small little hurdles that we all go through. And as we age, as much as I wanted to defy aging with exercise, now I'm at the point where I really appreciate aging in a way that isn't scary. It's not depressing. And women need help understanding that being young is great in some ways, but you could never pay me enough money to go back to be in college now. I don't want to be 21 anymore. And there's the age of raising your family if you choose to do that, and working. And as you get into those decades of 40, 50, 60, 70, women have so much to offer, but we're not really valued for that for the most part. And so I really love helping women understand that you have more to offer than just being a mom, than just going to your job or being a wife or whatever it is. But you have to be confident in that, and you have to feel good. And if you don't feel good, you're not going to be good. And feeling good is directly related to how you eat and how you exercise. And so that's kind of full circle for me, that I want to help women feel better about themselves, feel good inside, know how to treat food and exercise, because you're not going to get away from that.
Right.
But do it in a way that you're not obsessing, you're not counting, measuring, tracking, all that stuff. I'm terrible at all of that stuff.
So you have so there's the formula, you've got the coaching for some support and accountability, and it sounds like you have a system.
Yeah.
So you know what you want to do, with whom, when, based on, I'm assuming, what their goals are, what they're trying to accomplish, etc.
Yeah.
So you touched on fasting, and it's almost like fasting is everywhere.
If you start looking for it, yes.
Yeah, well, or if you make the mistake of clicking on something once,
yes,
all of a sudden you have these feeds that come up, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, for this age, for this age, you need to fast this way.
Yes.
For this age, you need to fast. I'm like,
it's interesting.
Really? It's interesting. But to the point where it's like, that's just too much. Like, I'm not going to sit here and read all this. So to have someone like you who's so in the know, who has the system, I mean, to me, that's gold.
Yeah.
That's gold. So let's talk a little bit about fasting and fitness, and how is that different than like diet and exercise?
Yeah. So fasting is a break from eating. It's just the space between meals. And so we all do that. Sometimes it's 2 hours, sometimes it's 6 hours, sometimes it's 10. And when we're not fasting, our bodies can recover. So when we eat, we're digesting, we're storing, we're using. When we're fasting, we're healing. And so when you look at fasting, like this is giving my body a break from digesting, a break from storing. And our physiology is made to heal. Our body wants to live a long time. But if we're always digesting and storing, we never get that space.
Right, because it's always
it's
like
always working.
Always working. There we go, around the wheel.
Right. Yeah, and so it stores a lot for most people. So fasting gives our body some time and recovery and restoration. So our bodies can actually, there's a process called autophagy that happens when you fast. And
I'm not going to spell that.
No, it's cellular recycling. So it's like taking out the trash in your body or reusing it for something else. And our bodies do this naturally when we fast. But it has to be 12, 13, 14, 18 hours into a fast before that happens.
That is
so for some people, 18 hours without food, that's crazy. That's a long time. But what if you ate dinner at 5, finished at 6, and then you had your first meal at 10, 11, 12? Totally. You can do that, right? You can have coffee, you can have water, you could even, some people have heavy cream, we could use MCT oil, there's several tools that we can use. So the idea that I'm going to be so hungry, I'm going to be tired, lethargic, low energy, that's actually the opposite of what happens. When you're fasting, you have more energy, more clarity, more creativity because of your body's being able to rest.
So you know what that reminds me of? So my chiropractor would do what's called cupping.
Yeah.
If you're familiar with cupping. And of course, I bruise very easily, and cupping gives you big old bruises. Yeah, like big old
Be
bruises.
careful where you do that, right?
Exactly. And so he explained to me that you create something where your body's going to be drawn to, because there's a bruise that needs to be healed.
Yes.
And so the body knows I'm going to go there and heal.
Right.
So that is just so, now just the connection, if you will.
Right. Yeah.
So, okay, get all that. And of course, no one knows what to do, when, or how long without a little direction, right? Which is where you come in.
Right.
So what's the biggest hesitation? So starting Formula 3. So what do you hear?
Yeah.
Oh, and you know what? Let's also touch on, you know how there's always, and I think you might have in your presentation, you know how people think they have to eat something every 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours,
Right.
but that's opposite of what you just described.
Right.
So I don't know where you want to go with that, but to
Yeah.
me, it's like, oh, I forgot. I want to make sure we cover that also.
Okay.
But then let's talk about the hesitations with Formula 3.
Yeah. Okay. So eating every couple of hours. Here's what eating does to you. It for a few minutes, it makes you it feels good. It's soothing. It's calming. It's relaxing. And then you have to digest. And then very often, most people feel a little bloated. Their stomach gets tight. They get fatigued. And those are very common side effects of eating. It's not normal, but that's very common.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, so after we eat, we should feel energetic. We should be, okay, I'm done eating. I'm moving on now. Food should not take up, so much brain space. But it does, because we're given direction all the time. Like, you have to eat or this bad thing will happen. Or if you need energy, you need to eat. And you need to eat this thing and you don't eat this thing. And it's confusing. I mean, I get confused too. So I try to keep it very simple. And none of us know exactly what's going on all the time, but we can be rest and relax that if I need to eat, I'll get signals from my body. I'm not going to pass out and die if I go a day without food.
Yeah.
Right?
Really?
No.
Note to self. Let me make.
Yeah.
You will not die, Lynette.
You won't die.
You do not eat.
You're going to feel hunger, and you might feel a little unusual because you're used to eating. Yeah. But you're doing something different. And so there's lots of, I get you comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's how I start with everybody. Yes. You can do this. You've done it in the past. There's been days where you haven't eaten and you've been busy, or you're moving, or you're doing something and you just forgot. And you lived through it.
Oh,
who knew?
It's 4:00.
Right.
I
haven't even eaten. And I'm not really that hungry.
That does happen. Well, I think sometimes, it's what we think we know, or what we're told, or what someone else is doing.
For sure.
And I'm one of those. Of course, I've tried several things. I found it distracting. It's like, oh, been 3 hours. I better have a handful of almonds.
Right.
Or
just it's a lot of work.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. Okay, so let's kind of feed into, what do you hear? Like, what do you hear and see when people are like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, well, just like you did. I can't go that long.
Yeah.
That's too long. Yeah. I'll be hungry. Yes, you will. Hunger
You'll
comes and goes. It actually goes away. If you don't eat, miraculously, it comes and goes.
Yeah,
and so you have to gain the skill of being hungry and not feeding it all the time. You will eat. It's not starving. It's not creating an eating disorder. This is structured, scheduled periods of eating, periods of not eating. And you get acclimated to not eating by practicing it. And we do it for wherever you are. So most people will say, I can't imagine doing it. I've never done that. And then we start to be like, I'm backing up. I want to be able to eat whenever I want to eat.
Yeah.
But do you want to feel better? Do you want to fit in your clothes? Do you want to have energy? Do you want to not have disease? Do you want to get off medication? Do you want to not have diabetes, arthritis, Alzheimer's, cancer,
all those
sleep?
Things.
Everything is related to inflammation, which starts by constantly working, digesting, storing. So if we never get recovery, that's where we're headed.
Right.
Now, when women start to go into our hormonal changes in their 40s, that hormonal change automatically predisposes us to insulin resistance, which is one of the causes of inflammation. And so that's kind of why I steer toward that age group, is because we all get there. Even if we're in fitness, I went there myself, and I exercised my tail off.
Yep.
But the hesitation, the fear of being hungry is something we talk through a lot. And there's a lot of tools that we can use. If you're hungry, can you distract yourself? Can you drink a lot of water? Can you have some coffee?
Water.
All kinds
Water's
of things.
my friend.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah, right.
Always. Because, you drink some water, it's like, oh, I'm really not hungry.
I'm fine. I was just thirsty.
I was just thirsty. Maybe a little dehydrated.
Yes.
So I love how, and again, we'll direct some people to your website because I think it's fantastic.
Thank you.
I love how it's not just about fasting.
Yeah.
It's it's also nutrition.
Yeah.
It's also strength training.
Yeah.
As women, right? That's so important that we do some strength training as well.
Yeah.
So back to nutrition. So you have on your website K Kitchen.
Yes.
Tell us about K Kitchen. I love that.
Lots of things have K's on my website.
So do we need to remind everyone? First name Kristen.
Yes.
With a K.
Yes. Right.
So K Kitchen, I love it.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So K Kitchen is a place of where you can find recipes. So I have them currently categorized according to season, and these are just meals that I like, that I enjoy cooking, that my family will eat, that are accessible to anybody. They're not fancy. They're one of the things I hate about online recipes is that you have to scroll through the whole story to get down to the recipe. So I just give you the recipe.
I love that.
This is chicken and broccoli. Here's your recipe. I want to hear the history of how you made chicken and broccoli.
No. Oh, thank you, Kristen.
Yeah. So
because that would be me. I'm like, no, too much.
Yeah, skip to the recipe.
Yeah.
And so I just have, a place where I continually add things that I'm trying, I'm experimenting with. And that's kind of the root of Formula 3 is it's an experiment because we're all a little bit unique because we all have different things we come to the table with. But if you experiment with yourself, you practice some new things, you'll find what fits your body really well. So I like, certain things, you like certain things. And we can all enjoy those foods within reason and within spaces of not eating. And so that's another thing that's a really big part of what I do is I get you comfortable with, okay, this is what I did. This is what happened. Was that good? Or do we want to do something different? And getting comfortable with not always knowing what you're going to do is a little bit of a hurdle for some women, the planners.
Well, I'm a planner, but as I'm sitting here listening to you, I really enjoy it's individual.
Yeah.
It's coaching. It's let's talk through this. What's working, what's not working, what's comfortable, what's uncomfortable, etc. By the big shout out to your blog as well.
Thank you.
So just your blog is great.
Thank you.
Love that. So a couple quick questions while we wrap up.
Yeah.
So give me like 2 habits that make you successful every day. How do you win your day?
Personally?
Yeah.
I wake up with enough time before wherever I have to go that I have some quiet time. So
love that.
I read, I pray, I look at my calendar, I look at the weather, I do all these, I drink my coffee.
Kate, we'll call that K time.
K time.
You're
That's
welcome.
right. Another space on my website.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, so having K time.
Yeah.
So important.
Yeah.
What's the biggest piece of advice you've ever been given?
Ooh, been given. Gosh, that's a hard one.
5 seconds.
I think not being true to yourself, doing what is is right, or that you feel so compelled to do that you can't stop talking about it. You should do that.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know what? I interviewed my boss actually.
Ooh.
His episode just dropped and it was awesome. He's like, I don't know why we're doing this. This is terrible. and so Michael named it. It wasn't that bad.
It's not terrible.
It wasn't terrible. And we talked about the importance of people knowing what you do. So if you're in a room, and not like a weird, I'm handing my card out to everyone, but in conversation, make sure people know what you do.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so that you're known. Because you never know when someone needs you.
Right.
Or is struggling with something you might be able to help with.
I love that.
Last question. If you could go back to your younger self.
Yes.
Aside from be true to yourself, like we just talked, which was advice, what would you say? What would you tell your younger self?
I think I would want to relax a little bit, not be as competitive, not be as worried about what other people are thinking of you, and be willing to take some risk that's a little unsafe.
Which you have.
Yeah.
You're a business owner. You're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
It is risky.
It is risky and it's stressful and it's all those things.
Yeah.
So I love it. Being a former athlete, it's hard to not be competitive.
It is.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
But finding your way to be competitive to the point where it's healthy versus unhealthy.
It's beneficial.
Right?
Yeah, it's a good stress.
Thank you, Miss Kristen.
You're welcome.
For visiting us today. I so enjoyed our visit. Hey, listeners, go to KLivFit. KLivFit.com, which is a fantastic website. And just thanks for being you.
Thank you.
Really, I was drawn to you the minute I heard your presentation, and I
Thank
knew
you.
you were someone that our audience would love to hear from.
Oh, I love that. Thanks for having me.
Guys, that's a wrap. I'm Lynette Arrasmith, your podcast host, I Trust Professionals. Hey, listen, let's connect on social media. Share, like, follow, subscribe. YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and let's not forget TikTok. See you next time.